news that one of the bombers was deported twice, raising serious concerns about Europe's border security. Retired Navy Captain Chuck Nash here with us now. This is amazing, Captain Nash. Turkey deports this guy twice. He puts Europe on alert, on notice that, hey, you know, this is a bad dude coming your way, and nothing. He's allowed to just infiltrate the nation and then commit this heinous act.
Well, not only that, Charles, but both of these brothers were arrested in Brussels last week, and they let them back out again. We are totally unprepared. We, and I say we, I mean in the civilized world in the West, we are totally unprepared for the threat. We're dealing with this persistent cough, if I could use an analogy. We're dealing with this persistent cough. So let's treat the cough. We're ignoring the root cause, which might be the lung cancer that lies beneath. And the cough is not an existential threat. The lung cancer, if you allow it to metastasize, most definitely is. And that lung cancer in this analogy is militant Islam. And we keep dealing with the ISIS or the Al-Qaeda or the Al-Shabaab. Those are merely the symptoms of the underlying disease.
Captain Nash, I think there are two kinds of negligence, right? So maybe in America we're woefully negligent of some of the things we could do better. But in Europe, there's sort of a willing negligence, whether it's because they believe that it's against their culture, that it's not politically correct. Whatever it is, they're willfully allowing these things to happen. You would think event after event would be something that would add up to a major wake-up call for them. Do you sense that coming around?
Well, I think it's coming around. It may be too late, but it is coming around. And I think what you're going to see is the populations are going to push back against their own governments. The Brits right now are looking at the Brexit. Are they going to pull out of the EU? And it's because they don't want to be pulled into, the Brits are already politically correct, but main continent Europe is way over the top politically correct. So within these societies are these embedded ghettos where they brought in these guest workers after World War II, and now you've got these petri dishes where you've got socialist systems providing welfare, and you have a population that is literally ripe for radicalization in their second and sometimes third generation because they've never really assimilated into the societies.
Yeah, it's amazing that even some of the major events we've had in this country, I find it amazing someone could come to this country or their parents from a war-torn country where they had nothing, grow up in this great country that gives them everything, and harbor that much resentment to the point where they go out and kill people who were their friends or supposedly their friends. But Europe, though, in this case, though, Captain Nash, their population is waning. There's no way they can compete economically with Asia and America. I mean, that was one of the ideas behind the EU and behind the common currency.
Right.
So they're between something of a rock and a hard place.
Well, the EU, you're exactly right, Charles. What they did was, they were a bunch of independent, homogeneous societies that took down their borders, tried to pull together, almost like consolidating down a business, consolidating down the business units to the point where they were saying, okay, Holland, you can raise flowers, Brits, this is your main product, and they tried to dictate economic conditions as well as the major outputs. So now all of a sudden what they're finding is by taking down those borders, they have made this invasion all the more possible and all the less controllable.
In the meantime, what do they do about the people who are already there, the generational risk that's already exists, these no-go zones where police can't even go in, the resentment that grows every single day, and what can they do about that?
Well, it's like the cough and the cancer analogy. Until you face up to what the real problem is, you're not going to take the steps that are necessary. And because this is different than the last two major times this happened in human history, right. Now what's happening is these societies are going to be fighting these battles not from an enemy onslaught. It's going to be fighting it from within. Yeah. And to do that, it's intelligence and communications are going to be the absolute keys going forward to this, and getting rid of the blinders of political correctness and focusing on the real threat.
Well, to borrow your cancer analogy, it sounds almost terminal unless they get their act together very soon. Captain Nash, thanks a lot.
You bet, Charles.